Good evening, everybody. Warm welcome to you all, and a warm welcome to those attending, and also to our viewers watching live on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. This is a meeting of the Property, Highways and Transport Select Committee. My name is Councillor Keith Burrows, and I'll be chairing this meeting. Details of the business to be considered today is shown on the agenda, copies of which are available in the room, and also accessible on YouTube underneath the broadcast. Just some housekeeping for those that are here. We're not expecting a fire drill, so if the fire alarm does go off, we do have to evacuate, but follow officers to the fire exits, out of the building to the designated meeting points. Also, for those in the room, please switch off any mobile devices or put them on silent before we actually get underway. Also, for those watching via YouTube, if you're so minded, you can complete one of our resident feedback forms. These can be found in the information section underneath the YouTube video. These forms are intended to help us improve the way that we run our meetings. So moving on to tonight's agenda, we will start with item 1, which is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. Tonight we've received apologies for absence from Councillor Chapman and Councillor Money, with Councillor Nelson substituting for Councillor Money. Thank you.
And as I do every single meeting, for those that are watching on YouTube, so you know who else are present within the room and in this meeting, I will ask each of you to introduce yourselves. And we go round, we come to officers, and we come back down this side and finish with Steve here. So we start to my right.
Good evening, Councillor Sherrier, Amid Walana.
Councillor Adam Bennett.
I'm Poonam Pathak, Head of Highways.
Gary Pentecost, Director of Operational Assets.
Liam Bentley, I'm the Operations Manager for FM Repairs, Housing Maintenance and Voids.
Councillor June Nelson.
Councillor Kamalpreet Kaur.
Councillor Ella Garrelli.
And Steve Clark, the Democratic Services Officer for this committee.
Thank you and welcome to all of you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Are any declarations of interest from any councillors in what's before us this evening? No, none declared. Thank you. Item 3, to receive the minutes of the previous meeting. So we've all got our agenda. What I would do is what I usually do. I go by page. If you do have any points you want to pick up on, please indicate as I come to the page number. Page 1. Councillor Kaur.
With your permission, Chair, where it says that Councillor Kaur was absent and arrived at the beginning of item 5, can we just use the last line, because the first one then becomes redundant?
Where are we looking, Councillor Kaur?
Where it says apologies for absence. Page 1.
Yeah. 43.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Kaur was absent. Councillor at the beginning on item 5. We also note that you arrived then. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. And just the meeting commenced and closed on page 5. Any other comments? No? Can we agree? Agreed. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, and that is confirm that items of business marked as part 1 be considered in public, and any marked part 2 be considered in private. I can say that every single report we have before us this evening will be part 1 and considered in public. So moving on to item 5, which is the void refurbishment process information report. And we do have Liam Bentley and Gary Pentecost, both of you are here. I'd just like to say, before we start, Gary, I appreciate why you weren't here last meeting, and congratulate you on your Ruby wedding. So I think you had a fair comment why you wasn't here. So thank you for attending this evening. We'll hand over to both of you to run through your report. This is a noting item. Please note, if you do have questions, make sure they are specific to the report and they are not ward specific. So over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Councillor, and just apologies for not being here at the last meeting. The report is provided. We're providing. It gives update to councillors on the processes we've implemented on our voids resurfacing processes. It's giving you an update on the changes we've made to make sure that the team are able to deliver good high quality standards, which has been proven by the uptake now of voids. In the past, we've had a number of refusals about the quality of the void. In the last year, we were getting minimal refusals over minor issues. Our overarching aim is to make sure that properties are clean and safe condition. We meet government standards and present it in good order so that we don't have follow-on repairs, and our tenants can move in happily and live as they're required. They're all compliant with our health and safety risk rating systems. The team under Liam is we've got a voids manager, two voids coordinators. They're the administration team who manage the works process. We've got 3 clerk of works who undertake all of our inspections, and it's bespoke inspection on the full needs of every single property. And then we've got four contractors who undertake the scheduled work. So we've got a full range now. We're still getting a lot of voids coming in through. I think we're nearly to 700 voids. I think it's detailed in the Appendix A. Again, the quality and some of the feedback we're getting from our tenants is that the work we're undertaking now, we're taking the opportunity to make sure that they are to current high standards, as you can see in some of the pictures where we're getting kitchens coming back in not such good order. And when we're finished, the kitchens now are in extremely good condition. Same with the bathrooms. Generally, our aim is to make sure that when all the statutory checks are undertaken, and when we leave those properties, there's minimal follow-on or need for us to attend other than emergencies. Again, as you see, we deal with the gardens to make sure that our tenants can move in and they're not hindered by some of our tenants might not be able to deal with that. In this case, that one looks like it was a disabled property where they could not deal with the garden. The performance data, as you see, over the last few years, since 2018-19, there's a steady trend upwards of void resurfacing, and we're currently on target to achieve, as I say, in Appendix 2, I think the figures 715 properties in the financial years. Again, and we're over that period, we have dealt with a number of issues where we started off with just one contractor, moved to 2 contractors, and now we're up to 4, who and they give us total flexibility in areas to fully turn the voids around in the required timescales. No delays. We've got current delays in our voids. I mean that's been superseded in there. If we go to the page 17, which are our interim voids update, that gives you a list of the types of voids, properties that are end of their life, hard to let, major voids, non-decent voids. That's where we have to undertake a lot more work. Short-term lets where properties need additional works. They might need carpets, fridges, freezers, etc. And then we have our standard voids, which, as you see, we haven't got that many standard voids at the moment. We're getting around about 190 normal voids, which would be the 10-day turnaround, which is a safety check, make sure the maintenance, all the windows are working, kitchens are operational, all the usual checks. We're moving as well to an additional category to make sure that we can really monitor our performance, and we've implemented a new stage which is called substantial voids, which has got a 40-day working times. So we're actually trying to represent the work and the time it's truly taking to undertake that work's activities. Generally, and in the document there we've got our void standard, which is quite detailed, and as you say, we're up to version 7 at the moment. We're always picking up, taking feedback, enhancing, making sure that the service is the best that we're able to provide. That was a quick run through of our standards. I'm more than happy to take any questions or try and clarify anything, and I've brought along Liam, who lives and breathes it every day.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Gary. Just for the residents listening at home and for some of us who don't exactly know, how long would an empty property take to be termed as void? So how long it has to be empty for before it's actually void?
So we're actually so we have a voids management party, which is headed up by the head of tenancy management. We all sit around and we review the processes, and we've made loads of leaps and gains by doing this. And what we try to do is, so it's from the point the resident hands the key back, that's where we start the clock now. Before we used to wait until the tenancy actually ended formally, but as soon as they hand those keys back, we know that that's where we start to get the loss of rent. So we want to jump on that as quick as possible, and that's where it comes over from the lettings team to my team, who then take their processes on. And again, dependent on the property condition, it can take either 10, 20. Obviously now we're going to have the 40, or if it's majorly damaged by fire, flood, or whatever, that's about 130 days. So once that's done, it will then go back to the lettings team. They'll have advance notification that we're planning on finishing this void on this day, and that it will be done by this day. So then they will be able to start preparing people to do viewings. We're also making big strides on the tenancy side, where they're doing viewings while works are in progress, so that we'll have advance notification so everything's safe, but the residents can walk round. So the aim is to minimise the time that we've got the keys back to the time to the keys that we're handed to the next resident, so that we're minimising loss of rent to the council.
Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, just wanted to say thank you for a really interesting report to read. It's fascinating just to learn a lot more about this, but also the huge undertaking that you have to do. And when you look at some of the pictures of the state of properties get returned in, and you know, having to clear them out before you can even start the refurbishment is a huge undertaking. I had a question just on sort of long-term tenants. So with the number of voids going up, if you're a long-term tenant, 30, 40 years, is there sort of a standard life cycle in terms of things like kitchen, bathroom suites? Can residents expect in X number of years that will be refreshed, or has that taken a hit because sort of resource and priorities are elsewhere?
I'll tell you what. We have got planned replacement programs for kitchens and bathrooms, and they're normally on a cycle of bathrooms are every 30 years. That's a sort of industry standard, and kitchens every 20 years. What we have got a bit of a backlog, which is why we're trying to make sure where the property appears on as a void is also links on our decent homes programs. We undertake the refurbishment work to make sure it's up to the required standards. But that has been being borne by. We have been committing a lot of financial resources as a council to the next item on the agenda on fire safety and building safety generally. And now the programs are starting to pivot to move back to decent homes. And we have got some extensive programs. What we're trying to do with that, we're also on our property list, on our plan programs. We're validating properties that should be considered as if they're listed as having should have had a kitchen in 2020 and we're behind the curve. We actually validate, check it, make sure it's still within the dates. If the kitchen needs replacing, then it's on our priority program. If it can wait a little bit longer because it's in good condition, then we slide it along the program a little bit, just because we know we have got some properties like we're finding in our voids that are of I'm trying to pick my words carefully, have fallen out. They're beyond reasonable repair. So what we find is if Liam's other team, which is the responsive repairs team, are unable to effect repairs, then those kitchens are obsolete. We can't. So in answer to your question, we have got planned programs which we're rolling out and extending as we speak.
Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Being new on this, so I'm just going to go lightly with you. Just some understanding on page 17. Can you help me out, please? You've got the different categories of labels, yeah, and I'm interpreting the categories of is that the turnover time?
Well, it's the way we categorise the void as well, because obviously those categories are detailed in the void standard as well to give further detail why we categorise them that way.
Okay, so that's the category of the voids, and then that the on your right is the turnover time that you get the property up and running. And
The far right one.
The far right,
yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And just one more question: what penalty does the council give for contractors who does not literally deliver your service that you require on time? What penalties do you give them?
So we run a weekly review with the contractors at present. So one of the items that we do, because we've now got the broad range of contractors which gives support to all of the others, we'd remove work from that contractor if needed and pass it over to another one, so they're able to recover. So we're actually able to recover quicker than we are. In terms of financial fines and things, that hasn't been pushed out at present.
Will you be pushing that out? Yeah, so let me sorry, Mr. Chairman. Follow-up question. Will you be pushing that out?
We will. You're right. As I say, when in other boroughs I've worked, we do have financial penalties. What we're trying to do now is, over the last year, we've evolved into four contractors dealing with works, and our primary aim is to turn the voids around in the quickest possible time. So our contracts are evolving, so they are going to be more along the lines of we're going to be focusing contractors' minds on turning voids around in required timescales. Now that's normally quite easy on the minor works voids. But what we're finding in some instances, as you can see by the figures, we've got some voids that require major works. And what we have found over the last sort of probably 2 years, we have been finding shortages of materials, availability of materials, which starts to impact on our delivery, on our turnaround times. So as the market starts to improve and delivery times get better, then we can start to not penalise but focus the contractors, and if where necessary we can apply penalties. But in the main, we're finding that most of our properties are turning around in target times, which is why we've implemented this 40-day target, which is some of the targets we'd had set previously would penalise the contractors unfairly in some instances, because you can't physically do work in 20 days. And it's probably, as you can see, some works are whatever the target is, 130 days, which is, that could be, fire damage, structural repairs, etc. So there's a lot of work there. But in answer to your question, the ultimate aim is to get to a stage where we've got good quality stock. When it's turned over and tenants leave, then it's quite quick for us to reservice those properties. And if contractors don't perform, then we have penalties to apply. And then the ultimate sanction is we move them on. And now we've got quite a good, as mentioned by Liam, we've got quite a good competition factor going on. We've got 4 contractors with backup, and whoever's not performing or whoever might have an issue with resources, they're taken off, and then we pass work to one of the other contractors. So we're always trying to maximise. Our overarching aim is to maximise the void's turnaround times.
Any other questions? Councillor Gallagher?
Thank you, Chair. Just got a couple of questions. On page 22, it says that some boilers are located in the bedrooms. would they be left in the bedrooms, or is there chance of moving them into the kitchen? There would be a safer location for them. 38. Yes. Internal letting standards. So there's mention of carbon dioxide, monoxide alarms. So it says that they are installed in the same room as the boiler, and some boilers are in the bedrooms. Would they be moved to the kitchen, or would they be left in situ?
If a boiler is located in a bedroom, then the CO detectors will be left in the bedroom.
Right.
But we will also install, as part of our which I'll come to on the next report. We've got an extensive program of installing smoke and heat and CO detectors in kitchen areas where there's combustion, and most of the boilers are located in those areas. But to answer your question, if a boiler's in a bedroom, there'll be a CO detector there.
Right. My second question, page 39, kitchen and cooking areas. So cooking facilities and storage facilities are standard, but you don't install washing machines, which I suppose would be standard because everyone washes clothing for work and school.
Yeah, the only thing that, so in regards to what, is that the short-term let that you're talking about, or just the standard void?
Just the standard.
So standard void, we don't provide any white goods to residents. It's assumed that they provide that as part of the tenancy agreement. So we wouldn't provide that. We'd create a space for it to go and the outlets and everything for it to be connected up, but we wouldn't provide that.
Okay, so I assume that would be just for long-term tenancies. So that people would bring their own. Yeah,
people would bring their own. I mean, if it's a short-term let, as in we're enabling homeless people into houses, then we do provide those white goods. We fit that in as standard, but they remain in ownership to the council, and we go out and we'll look at these and we'll maintain these for residents as well, because these are people moving from a homeless situation to it. But in regards to any other void standard outside of a short-term let, it's resident responsibility to provide that and to maintain that throughout the life of the tenancy.
Right, thank you. And one final question. The contractors that council is using, are they local businesses or they are not located in Hillingdon?
Well, they're tendered through the council's portal, so they're competitively tendered. Then they go through that. Some of the contractors are not based directly in Hillingdon. However, what they have done is they've invested in Hillingdon, as in getting local areas to work, employing local people to make sure that they're giving opportunities to those who actually live within the borough.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Gary.
I'm going to say we've been quite successful really with some of our term contractors. Generally, are taking on a lot of our local kids for apprenticeship schemes. So we've got some on our electrical company, some on our CCT, some on the building work. So which is good, and that's what we're trying to aim, is to build up and work. We work closely with Uxbridge College on Liam's team with our own apprentices scheme. So our aim is to maximise the amount of people from the area working on our contracts.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? So we're happy to move on to the next item. Next item is the building safety update, and we come back to you, Gary, for this as well.
Thanks, Chair. This document today provides the committee with an update on our building safety strategy. Document the Building Safety Act, as you're aware, following the Treasury Grenfell fire. There was amendments to the Building Safety Act, which led to us developing a process. There's 5 key areas, which is detailed on pages. I think it's page 51 onwards, and that details all the essential elements associated with ensuring buildings are safe to operate. And it's mainly, and however this will be changing. It's mainly to do with buildings that are over 18 metres or 7 stories with two or more properties in them. We have got 10 high-rise blocks under our management in the borough. The duty it provides us, we have to ensure that the buildings are safe for residents, tenants and leaseholders. We have to register our residential buildings, and a duty to carry out safety assessments, remedial works, and duty to cooperate with the building safety regulator. And these rules apply to design, planning and construction stages right through the building's life. As I touched on earlier, prior to the Grenfell fire, we'd already commenced the programme of fire safety works, and that was mainly to do with replacing fire doors, as both residential fire doors in the flats and communal fire doors, replacing emergency lighting, fire signage. Generally, we were a little bit of a step ahead of the game. And the then leader did approve that all fire doors were fitted in all our high-rise blocks straight away. We undertake our fire risk assessments annually on the high-rise blocks and sheltered schemes, and it's dependent on risk with regards to the rest of our buildings. We've utilised. There's a lot of work ongoing at the moment that we're undertaking. We've utilised the government's fire risk assessment tool, which takes all the measures and all the systems that you've got in these blocks and provides a priority risk rating tool. And as I said in the report here, all 10 of our buildings, our high-rise blocks, have all received a low risk rating, because what we've got is, as I said, fire doors, emergency lighting. We've also got sprinklers installed in 6 of our blocks, which is, it's been quite an interesting process putting sprinklers in. It's gone really well, and we've got 4 of our high-rise blocks are on our redevelopment programme. So the sprinklers will be we won't be installing there, but all the other measures are installed. We're preparing update documents for all of our residents, and that'll be confirming. There's a draft in the pack which confirm our stay put policy, because they're safe to maintain the stay put policy. We've got a tenants information pack, and the council got praise where praise is due. The council has agreed, not like a lot of other councils, has agreed to pay for all door replacements in a building, so there's no issues around non-standard doors being fitted in certain properties, and there's also a residents' fire safety information pack being prepared. The fire reform order from 2005 changed on the 23rd of January 2023, and that was following the inquiry, which required secure information boxes, basically which we already started installing in 2019. Wayfinder signage. All our high-rise buildings had new signage fitted in 2021. All our fire doors, as a requirement of the new order, all our doors are checked. Front entrance, we have to take reasonable endeavour to check people's front entrance doors. We can't force it. And this all takes place since February 20. And on that point, our repairs operatives have all just been trained on TRADA to undertake repairs and certify those repairs as part of our maintenance regime. And firefighting equipment, we've got monthly servicing programs in place. Generally, all of our statutory service programs are working, and I've got a table there of what we've done so far on our fire door program. Looking at the high-rise, we've changed 665 front entrance doors, 844 communal doors, sheltered schemes, 354 and 438 communals. We've got on our low and medium rise. Now these are blocks where they've got enclosed stairwells. They might be, say, 2 stories high or up to 4 stories, 5 stories. So our priority is to target to make sure the front entrance doors and communal doors are of the same standard that we insist all our doors that are fitted are third party accredited, and you can see by the quality and that picture there what we used to have to what we've got now, and the feedback from the vast majority of our residents is really good. As I said, I touched on sprinklers. We've got sprinklers going in. These are the installations. As I say, they are a little bit imposing, should we say, on our in the property. However, once they're fitted, they disappear into the property. We've had no complaints since these have been fitted. Our first block we did was Sutcliffe House. And then the government changed requirements. Is originally only within dwellings. Now the new requirement is for within dwellings and the common areas, and all new installations have to have a power backup to ensure the pumps all work. So we've got generators installed. So we are a little bit. I mean, I will cry about that. We are a little bit ahead of the game on that one. All of our that's our servicing regime. One of the other projects we have undertaken. All of our properties now are receiving new fire rated consumer units, like the old fuse boards. They're all fire rated. We've installed around about 8,700. Still got a few to go, which is and in that, at the same time as that installation, there will be smoke, heat, and CO detectors fitted. Again, a lot of that's the norm. We started that about 3 years ago, and now the government are pushing that as a requirement. Generally, I feel that we're in quite a good place with our servicing regimes and the works programs we've got, which led me on to that thing now. Now we've done that bit and the bulk of the investment. Now we move our investment onto our planned replacement programs for kitchens, bathrooms, etc., and windows. The document here is our operational delivery plan, which comes from the document that went to Cabinet last year, about last July time, and that sets out each of the departments. There's 5 key areas, each of the departments, and this is ongoing monitoring. As you see, this is our live document that gets updated on a regular basis, confirming who needs what, or who needs to provide an update. And we get to the, and that really links in with that's from the design concept stage to the planning stage to the building stage to the ongoing maintenance stages. So it covers a whole lot. There's a document here which is in draft, fire door information for our residents. The government's guidance is that we need to advise all of our residents why fire doors are so important. So this document here, and I'd welcome, not for now, but I'd welcome any comments on that document there. And this is going to be, once it's finalised, that'll be going out to all our residents. The fire evacuation policy, as I said there, we still operate low risk. We've got low risk buildings, so it's a stay put policy unless there's obviously a fire in the flat. Obviously, get out. So we're in quite a good place, I believe, as a council, and we're rolling our programs out to include all our other blocks at the same time. I can take any questions.
Thank you, Gary, for that detailed update. I've got hands showing. I've got Councillor Rolana, I'll take Councillor Cord and Councillor Nelson and Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's not an extra question, it's a point I would like to make. Gary, thank you so much for your presentation. My question would have been around the building safety, and I'm glad you mentioned that you are ahead of the game on this, so congratulations.
Thank you. Councillor Cord.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of fire safety regulations, you've mentioned about the safety of the houses. Since you mentioned Sutcliffe House, I was just wondering that the building safety issues are not just fire safety related, are they? Because there have some there are some issues that we've seen around that area, which have due to the rain drainage. So rain is it's probably some faulty design or construction, that the rainwater lands into the balcony and then floods the flats. So the flats through the 14th floor go all the way down, and we've actually, and because the water can't escape through anywhere, it goes through the electrics. So have that aspect of building safety be looked at, or can something be done about it? Because a lot of houses have been affected by it, and because the water then comes through the electrics, it makes it even more unsafe. So people have actually felt shocks through the walls when they come in contact with the flooding through the flats. And this is especially the Sutcliffe house that you mentioned. A lot of people have experienced that. So will the design be surveyed again or looked so something can be provided to help those people, because that is also a major safety risk? Thank you.
As I mentioned, there should not be, if there are any incidences where people are receiving a shock, that should be, that's why we're putting new fuse boards in. They're designed to react immediately without giving any shock to any residents. And what we find, if there are issues, then those issues of floods need to be reported. What we will do, and we have found that some of the I know what you're talking about, the drains on the balconies, when they do get blocked, they do cause flooding into properties. And when it's most of the time it's a simple fix. Liam's team attend. We clear those drains, and where necessary, we rerun the drains to the on the outside of the building. We also have other issues where these buildings are 60 or 70 years old, and they sometimes things pack up, so we have to put new roofs on them. Comes to our plan program. But generally, if there's a leak within the building caused by the rains, then obviously Liam's team will pick up those clearances.
And just on that point, obviously we're available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We run an emergency service through the repairs team, and we have relatively, or should I say, very good response times. I'm quite pleased with the response times we provide out of hours. Plus, we also have an online reporting tool, so anyone or any resident that has an issue that affects their property, like a block drain or anything, can, if it's routine, report it online. If it's not, and it's an emergency, they're directed to call us.
Chair, there's a follow-up question, if you allow.
I will allow, but if we're going to start going into specifics of a ward, then it should be highlighted by a ward councillor, possibly through members' inquiries, but I'll allow it at the moment.
Thank you. It's simply because the Sutcliffe house was mentioned, and because we've recently visited, the safety concerns are really high, and I would really appreciate if you go and look into the rain safety aspect, because some residents also think that it would affect the structure of the building. Thank you.
Sure, Chair. We'll arrange for an inspection. If we've got property addresses after the meeting, we'll get them attended.
I think that would be a way forward, Councillor Core. If you can let the officers have specifics, then they can go and inspect specific areas. Councillor Nelson.
Mr. Chairman, I've got two questions on the issue here that was residents, under the resident stay put policy document, it is under review. Are all residents aware what to do in an event of a fire and a turnaround to residents, and what provision are in place?
The stay put policy is the stay put policy. We've got signage to evacuate. Most of our high-rise buildings, in fact all of our high-rise buildings, have got one form of escape, one staircase. All lifts are identified as being not used, do not use in the event of a fire. We're putting measures in place to smoke and heat and alarm detectors in a property. So the guidance we'll be providing to our tenants will be to, obviously, if the fire's in the property, vacate. if you're notified of a fire outside the property or to near to the property, and it's safe to evacuate. But most of the time, our properties are protected. As I said earlier, we have undertaken the assessment. We only use third-party accredited fire doors, which are proven to provide a minimum of 30 minutes fire and smoke resistance. So we've and by which time, and we've got sprinklers in our high-rise blocks as well. So we have covered all eventualities, which is why the buildings have all received low risk rating. But as I say, the documents here will be the guidance for people for our residents on how to deal with a fire in the event of a fire. But the measures are there to ensure safety.
And one more question. Sprinklers has not been installed in 4 of the high-rise buildings that are due to be demolished. Are these habitable? And if so, what other provisions are in place? And if not, are the sites secure? Thank you.
Yeah, the four buildings are being demolished. All of those buildings have still got all of the other measures, which is fully compliant fire doors, emergency lighting, signage, and means of escape. They've also got dry riser installations, which enable the fire service to plug in at the bottom of a building and get water to the point of a fire. So all other measures are in place, and they've also got smoke and heat detectors. The only thing we have not installed is the sprinklers at the moment, because the buildings will be being demolished in a year or so's time in some instances, in which case we can better use that money else on our other properties. But as I say, all of even the buildings that have been earmarked for demolition have been assessed, and they're low risk.
Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, very insightful report. You answered one of the questions, which was around secondary escape routes, and generally it's just one primary one that we have. A couple of other quick questions. I think I know the answer to this one. None of our high-rises are cladded in Hillingdon.
No.
Okay, we're quite lucky. Looking at the number of high-rises, actually, compared to other London local authorities, we probably have the fewest, which for the second largest borough is impressive.
Yeah, we've just got 10 high-rise, and they're mainly, we've got 4 which are brick skin clad, and most of the others are concrete sort of bonded straight to the original concrete, so rain screens, and the 2 in the centre in fairly in the Goldings are the same rain screen clad systems, concrete.
Okay. And just the last question was just around the context of all of this. How many fire incidents do we get in sort of housing stock and or high rises? Is it sort of a weekly, a monthly event, or much more infrequent?
I haven't got the figures to hand, but high rise is minimal. We have more fires in normal street properties. And a byproduct, what we've found is on our electrical upgrade program, we've been able to go around every single property, and where normally there's mostly sources of fire are normally electrical fire, a fire in the kitchen, or overloaded power circuits. And what we've been able to do under our program, we're changing fuse boards to make a much more reactionary to electrical defects. We're also picking up any circuit defects at the same time, which is having a knock-on effect of reducing the number of reactive repairs. And we're also picking up on where, guarantee at Christmas time, where people
I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Gary. Can we come back to it? Because I had a request from Councillor Wallana before the meeting, as he's fasting at 7:45. Could we just take a break for him to break his fasting? I've agreed to that, and we will take a 10-minute break. Is that long enough for you, Councillor Wallana? So we'll just take a 10-minute break, and if we can pick that point up, Gary, it's just that it's important that Councillor Wallana is allowed to break his fast at 7:45. Thank you, committee.